You are now listening to the Divorce Diaries podcast with your host, well, that's a secret. No names, ages, or any other identifying characteristics will be used as we protect the young and innocent. You'll be taken on a journey as one man considers getting a divorce or remaining married. The Divorce Diaries daily entries chronicle the decision-making processes in real time as they unfold day by day. He hopes to add a bit of clarity to his sometimes muddled mess of a marriage. Cheating, overspending, sex, sadness, and betrayal are the characteristics of this marriage. Is he making the right choice? Welcome to the Divorce Diaries. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else. At Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link below in description. Now for today's episode.
Such excitement. So, the update is the power plays that my ex is making. I actually had to hang up on her yesterday because I'm still realizing how I have conditioned her to treat me. Let's see, how did this one start? So this one was text messages that she's been saying. She's been requesting some personal documents for the kids. Just a birth certificate and social security card, which she can go to the Department of Vital Records and get them herself. The only reason I have them is because I've always taken care of all of these things for everyone in the family, and I've kept everything and organized it, and she's never shown any interest in taking care of that or taking that on, which is fine. I do believe that's the pecking order of a marriage. I believe that some people naturally just slide into certain roles and they should be able to exist there with some possible checking in from the other person. So it's not bad, and I'm not saying it as a point of like insult with her. Like, no, I'm just saying a statement of fact. She didn't really take on any of the whole documentation things. Taxes, that was all me, and filing things were all me, and keeping records and organizing records all me. She would do things like maybe keep records, but not like necessarily organizing them or anything like that to that degree, especially the important stuff. But she's like, you're going to bring me this. I've repeatedly asked for this, now bring it to me. And it's like, and she didn't say bring it to me, so let me be a little bit more succinct because I don't want to overstate what she said. But she's like, I keep asking you to do something and you aren't doing it. And as I'm reading these messages with a different perspective, I'm like, yeah, you're used to asking me to do something and I don't do it. And I do it. That's what you're used to. And the way that she's talking to me, it's showing me that she doesn't have a respect for me when she's asking me. She's just like, no, I ask, you do. I say, you do. I say jump, you say how high. And I noticed that reaction was there inside of me. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't want to say no. Even though when we didn't have birth certificates, I'm the one that went and got them and stuff like that for the kids. And I did it. She could just do it. She's an adult. She's got legs. She's got arms. She could go on the website. She could do things, but she's making such power plays. And she's like, you're not responding to my texts or my phone calls. And she's very, very toxic. I don't have to respond to you. If we have something that we need to talk about with our children, yes, but remember, she has been for a great many months talking to therapists and telling half of stories to help create a narrative about me. That's what she's been doing. And she doesn't realize the amount that I know. And I also realize that there's a lot that I don't know. But I do know that she's speaking behind my back to people and she's not stopping. This isn't slowing down. She's only telling them parts of a story, leaving out other things that make her look really good and me look really bad, which is okay. Problem for her, she doesn't realize that I know this and I've accepted it. And I'm like, I don't have anything to say to you. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to lash out at my wife. I'm not going to hurt her. I'm not going to withhold anything, especially as it relates to the kids. But you don't get to ask me to do things for you that I would have done when we were married and when I was still trying to have a happy marriage with you. No, you're by yourself now, as am I. We don't get to still have some of the luxuries that we had when we were in a relationship, when we are no longer in a relationship. So it's just the way that she's talking to me is so interesting. And so when we were on the phone, because I haven't been answering, she's like, well, since we're on the phone, I want to talk some things out. Okay. And mind you, you've been listening to this podcast. There hasn't been anything that we've been able to successfully talk out. There's literally no point in talking to each other because I'm not putting it on her, we cannot communicate well or effectively. We cannot do that. So we shouldn't talk. Neither of us should want to talk to the other person. And I especially shouldn't want to talk to her knowing that whatever I say to her will be repeated with some special sauce and seasoning on it. It will be repeated, or things will be left out from what I say. That is what my wife will do. So, with that said, there's nothing for us to talk about. Really isn't. So, we're on the phone, and she says, hey, I would like to, our daughter's therapist is saying that we should have family therapy. Are you open to that? Now, I don't know if the family therapist would have wanted that because I've already emailed the family therapist back in October and said, hey, you're seeing my daughter. If there's anything you ever need, just know that I'm here and please reach out. And she has not responded to me since. Not responded, not one bit. But I know that my wife and her have been in very close contact, and she's been in a lot of the sessions with the kids. So I'm getting lots of advisement from my therapist, and she's like, don't get in the fray. Don't get in the fight is what she calls it. Do not get in the fight. I'm like, okay. And she's constantly reminding me the things that I'm doing, how they are helping or hurting a situation, or that I'm in the fight when I may not want to be in the fight. Or I'm in the fight and I'm not helping. It's actually only helping to put the kids in the middle because my wife is putting the kids in the middle, and me getting in the fight too, I'm participating in the kids being in the middle, and now I'm not. So there's nothing for us to say, talk about, or discuss. And she's talking to me and she's like, you need to provide this document. And I haven't been answering, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go and talk to you later. And I haven't worked for about a week and a half. There's some things going on at work, and I just haven't been there. And she's like, so what's going on with your job? I'm like, nothing. Everything's okay. Well, you have to know something. Tell me. I know something, but I'm not going to share that right now because there's still things that are up in the air that I'm still trying to get figured out. So that's what's going on with me. And well, you're being tight-lipped and you're not telling me. And I just find it so funny that she's coming at me like this. And I'm like, she's already been very clear because she said when she was asking me for money, and she said she feels that I can afford something, a certain amount of money, because I gave it to her once I left, and I should be able to continue giving it to her with all of my other expenses. I should be able to afford that much. And I said, well, no, my rent is this, and I have other financial obligations, and I'm getting ready to go in for a procedure, and this is what I have going on in my life. And her response to that was, not my concern. So now that she's asking me for this information, it's not that I'm even withholding money. She just wants to know what's going on with me, what's going on with your job. And she's asking very aggressively over the phone. I'm like, I don't have anything to say. You do. You have something to say. Okay, I'm going to get off the phone now. You're not going to get off the phone. I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done. well, I'm going to get off the phone. I don't want to keep making your day any worse. I don't want to make your day worse, and I don't want my day to be made worse, so I'm just going to get off the phone. And I hung up. I was so scared to do that because I'm so scared of the wrath. It's always a wrath. It's always a wrath with my wife. And I know that I'm going to suffer it. I know that I'm going to suffer it somehow, some way. But I know it's unavoidable. I'm going to suffer the wrath anyway. I'm going to suffer the wrath if I do something. I'm going to suffer the wrath if I don't do things. I'm just going to suffer the wrath. And it's accepting that and moving forward that way has been hard. But there's no getting around it. My therapist has been saying a lot of just like, she's going to get worse. She's going to continue to become unhinged. Watch what happens when you don't say anything. It's going to get worse from there. Try not to not answer her, which right now what I'm trying to do is every time I don't really know what to do because my wife sort of got a lawyer first and she's like being really aggressive and like all this money stuff. And I guess they're doing this discovery with financial things and it's just getting really ugly, and just watching how our relationship has devolved after everything that I've done. It's tough. And having my therapist there to help me understand that I can only control what I can control, and keeping myself as calm as possible during all of this, not reacting, and that my wife is really wanting reactions, which is why she's making phone calls to start fights. They aren't phone calls to, hey, I know this is hard, but let's just get this over with as quickly as we can. She doesn't have that spirit of I don't really want to talk to you, but we do have to talk. Let's just kind of get this done with as quickly as possible. And, just have a good day. But we're not that, and she's not that person. She's you're going to do what I want you to do, or else. My wife's a real bitch. Not in a pejorative sense. That bitch did. No. My wife is a really dark bitch of a person. We were having a huge argument at the family home. And my wife covertly called her sister a bad mother. She did not come right out and say she is a bad mother, but she said that you let your kid listen to Cardi. No, excuse me. She said any parent that lets their kid listen to Cardi B is a bad parent. And my sister-in-law allows her children to listen to Cardi B. So there's no fake or roundabout conclusion one can or should draw. You can draw a direct line to anyone that lets their kid listen to Cardi B is a bad parent. And if you're talking to and you're in a conversation with someone that happens to be your sister that allows their child to listen to Cardi B and they're a parent, you just said any parent that allows their kid to listen to Cardi B is a bad parent. You're literally calling her a bad parent in front of her. That is what my wife did. And she is not sorry for it. In fact, she's talked to my sister-in-law a couple of times to say, well, I just didn't really mean that in that way totally, and I just didn't really know the type of person you were. So there's a lot of backhanded, judgmental comments that she's been saying to her about, I just didn't really know who you were. And initially, my sister-in-law was like, yeah, I kind of, maybe I hid that part of myself from you. But for my wife to act as if she didn't call her a bad mother, for all intents and purposes, shows the type of person that my wife is. Not that she called her a bad mother. To me, that's not the worst part. The part that's bad is when you are called out for calling her a bad mother and you are denying that you did. That shows a different level of omission or you don't want the world to know that you are the quote unquote type of person that will call someone else a bad mother or bad parent, even though you did. And people heard you do it. So you can lie that comfortably in the face of people that were actually there when you told that person they were a bad parent. Everyone knows you said it, but you still want to promote a facade that says you didn't say it. That is the person that I was married to, and that's why it's easy for me to not answer these phone calls now, because I understand who my wife is. I understand that she is the type of woman that will say to my son, hey, I know you're going to be a realtor soon. I'm going to leave him and I'll be your first client. It'll be great when I leave him. Talking to my son about me. That's not, and he was mad at me at the time and still is. And that type of talk will very much help drive wedges between people. And you don't care. My wife is that type of person. She doesn't care. She can go in and sit with different therapists and leave out very critical details of stories of conflict between the two of us and just sleep well at night. Granted, I don't think she's sleeping well. I think she's very tormented, and I think she's angry, and I think she's so frustrated, and it's all my fault, which is fine. But I don't have to continue to listen to it for the rest of my life. Even if it were true, even if I was an absolute piece of shit, I don't have to listen to someone tell me I'm a piece of shit for the rest of my life. I don't have to listen to that. Good news, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not even close. I'm a flawed guy with a lot of shit to work out. But I'm nowhere near a toxic, dark piece of shit. I'm not. Well, gotta weather the storms. And she's gonna keep them going. No contact is gonna be the appropriate prescription for this. I love Dr. Ramani. She said, you know that you've gotten to a place where you just don't care about the narcissist anymore. I don't care if it's not an angry, I don't care if she has a great life. I don't care if she has a bad life. You know, I can tell you, I don't care if she is successful. I don't care if she's unsuccessful. I don't care if she hits the lottery. I don't care if she goes broke. I don't care if she finds success and happiness, if she doesn't. I just don't care. I don't wish any ill upon her, and I don't wish any good. I just don't want to know or speak to her ever again because of the things that she did, does, and is continuing to do. I don't want any parts of her.
Wow, that was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.